Kevin, please sit down. So tell me, what was your greatest challenge in college?
Well, I'm dyslexic. Most dyslexic people have a common problem of B's becoming D's and D's becoming B's and M's becoming W's and W's becoming M's. However, my problem is a little bit different. While reading, I have trouble putting together words. So like a word like bat, you would go bat. Well, if I try to read that in my head, I just couldn't. I would go bat, bat, and it just would never come to me. It was incapable of my brain to put such things together. After many years of this, I finally met a teacher named Miss Johnson. She told me that every single teacher I had up to this point was teaching me the wrong way to read because of my rare form of dyslexia, and that she knew the right way to teach me how to read. So I started going early to school every single day to meet her, and it significantly jumped up my grades. By the end of that year, I was in the 97th percentile of the entire country, or entire state, sorry. Which is a stark contrast to the year before this, of which I was the 3rd percentile. I went basically from failing to top. Even though I had made great achievements, my confidence from years of being told I will never read still kind of messed with me. So when I was thinking about doing the PERT test for the enrollment, it terrified me. I was scared. I knew my shortcomings of speed reading, grammar, and punctuation simply because I had to learn a new way to read for me to be able to read. But when I was sitting there in the car, panicked, scared, about to go in to take the PERT test, I just thought of everyone who had helped me, everyone who taught me, my friends, my family, Miss Johnson, everything. And so I just got out of my car and started going towards the building. And I took the test and passed. So I made it in college early. The kid who every teacher had told me probably never passed high school. So this is how I overcame stuff.
Take a seat, Ben. So, tell me, what was your greatest challenge in college?
Well, the greatest problem I had was probably my ADHD. ADHD has been my main struggle for the entire duration of my life. I fortunately don't have many major setbacks. I have a caring family, a stable living situation, and good friends. I'm very grateful that I wasn't born with a significant learning disability. That being said, ADHD can affect me in significant negative ways in some situations. It's always affected my ability to pay attention in school. I've always been able to zone out in class for close to hours at a time without even realizing it. This can negatively affect my grades, and sometimes I'll have no idea how to do an assignment or test. I've always been known to become very restless in stressful situations, which can annoy my peers at times. I've learned how to manage my ADHD in recent years, making the negative effects lessen. While I know my ADHD will never disappear completely, I've come to terms with it rather than dwelling on the fact that I must deal with it. I'm currently in college, and the effects of my ADHD have never been more manageable due to the experience I've gained. I was first diagnosed with ADHD in kindergarten. They instantly put me on medication, thinking it would help. I was on and off with medication until about 5th grade, when my dad realized it was making me lethargic and grumpy. At this point, I cut off the medication completely. I instead started to learn how to deal with my ADHD in a more self-sufficient way. I started taking more notes in school since I could copy things down while simultaneously being zoned out. I could then look over my notes later while paying complete attention. I also learned how to pick up on information more efficiently, so in like a class like math, I could be taught how to do one problem and then use that knowledge to teach myself how to do the rest of the problems. All these methods have stuck with me up till today. I use them in college much to my advantage. Due to my ADHD, I used to have terrible grades. Everyone's always described me as bright, but that was never reflected in my grades. I was a straight C and D student in middle school and the first half of high school. This all turned around in recent years. I now get A's and B's since I can now effectively control my ADHD. Okay. With most cases of ADHD, a case of restless leg syndrome comes with it. It's fairly self-explanatory, but restless leg syndrome is a condition where you move your legs uncontrollably without realizing it. It doesn't seem like this would be a major problem, but in class it can be. Bouncing your leg can get really noisy, especially against hard floors. I can't even express how many times I've been asked if I could stop bouncing my leg in class. I always respond with a yes, even though I know I can't stop for more than a minute. I've learned where I can bounce my leg without making a noise, such as my other foot or on the base of a desk. I've never been so optimistic about the future of my schooling. My ADHD has become a minor issue as opposed to a controlling factor in my life. My grades are currently the best they've ever been, and I'm proud of how far I've come. While I know my ADHD will never leave me completely, I no longer think of it as a crutch. Instead, it's just an obstacle to overcome.
Declan Outlaw, please sit down. What's the biggest problem you face in college?
Struggling with my academic career has always been a problem for me and something I need to overcome, but something I've never really done until recently. I've always struggled with paying attention to the professor when he or she is talking because I get very bored easily when a professor is talking in a monotype voice for over an hour. My mind tends to drift off aimlessly. When a professor assigns an assignment, I tend to wait until the last minute to turn in the assignment after I was given ample time to do, but I procrastinated until the last second, and then I always end up barely getting stressed by barely skidding by. Recently, I've started to work on these issues and fix many of my flaws that I need to improve to further heighten my academic success. To fix my problem with not paying attention in class, I tried to genuinely listen to what the professor was saying and try to understand something interesting about what he or she was saying so my brain would actually understand what the professor was saying. This helped me in dramatic ways because when the professor said something that was related to what he or she said in the last lecture, I comprehend what is happening because I found something interesting about it. This also helped me with tests because when a test has a question that had something to do with a small thing the professor said in the last lecture, I'm able to remember this small thing because I listen to the lectures more efficiently. I solved my problem with procrastinating with my assignments in several different ways. First, I set up reminders on my phone as soon as I got notice of an assignment, mainly so I wouldn't forget until the last second, but mainly this wasn't my issue. My main issue was that I knew I had an assignment due and I didn't do anything about it because I was being lazy and I knew it would get done eventually, but just not right now. So to fix this problem, I set up a schedule for myself. For example, one day I would assign 2 hours of work and set a time for relaxation for myself. And I would set up a schedule whereas if I followed it, I would get the assignment done on time. All I had to do was follow the schedule that I was set. It was much weight taken off my shoulders and to realize that I didn't have to stress about time management and I could sit back and follow my plans. After these changes, I noticed my grades start to change for the better. I noticed that I wasn't in such a constant state of stress and that I finally had a system to trust and hold my academic career. These obstacles obviously weren't easy to overcome and I had a lot of internal motivation just to get myself started on these little but meaningful changes. These meaningful changes made me want to come to college and learn instead of staying home dreading my classes. They really changed my academic lifestyle in such great ways.